What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Beyond the 90. Neil, your host, and I've got a few special guests with me today. So we've just beaten Tottenham at their new lovely ground, and we've put two past them with two very special assists from Tony Alderweireld and Aurier as well. So I'll just hand over initially to Amar. Amar, what are your initial thoughts of the match, and how do you think it went?
What a win. The performance, I think, going into the game was, it was always a game that I think tactically you feared in terms of Brendan. All right, he got the better of Pep and Bielsa and Arteta and that. And going into this game, a real matchup, and you felt like tactically on his day, Mourinho could get the better of him. And even with our amazing away record, you always felt that could be in doubt. But I felt, start to finish, like tactically outmastered him, and just by far the better team than them on the day. And, you could spend hours and watch the game back over multiple times with the game and just highlight, certain things. I'm sure we'll get into that. But the fact is, and this is what it takes to actually compete properly for Tottenham fans actually just going about saying they could actually win a title. We were the better team, and we stood up like men, and we wanted it more than them. That is a basic fact. We fought more than them. We played better than them. Defensively, going forwards, we caused all sorts of problems, and it was just brilliant to see. And the only disappointing fact of it was the VAR decision for Maddison's goal. Absolute joke and disgrace. And that just sort of hindered the celebrations for me a bit. It shouldn't do, but it still did. I don't know why, but it's just that, those decisions, they just ruin it. And luckily it didn't come back to bite us. And and that we didn't score more goals. But apart from that, I thought we were just excellent in every way. Every single player. I couldn't fault any one of them. And we can get into that, definitely.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that a bit, and especially on the VAR, because I'll definitely rage get that one. We'll get on to a bit more. We've got loads of points, and there was some definite good performance, and I agree. There was, I think everybody today had at least a 7 out of 10. Just over to you, Austin. There was at the beginning, it seemed like quite an even game. Nobody really wanted to put their foot forward, but it just seemed like after about 30 odd minutes, Leicester just kind of took off and kept the momentum, and Tottenham just couldn't keep up, could they?
No, they couldn't. I thought that eventually there was going to be a period of time where Tottenham would turn it on and show up, and it just really didn't happen. I think you got to credit that to our shape and our defensive ability, just how good and compact we were, and we just looked very good defensively. They didn't really threaten our goal other than maybe the one chance in the 70th minute. You didn't think at any time they'd really score, and we just kept plugging away, and eventually our class and our midfield and our attacking, and obviously 2 helpful assists from the back line of Spurs, just helped us to really, really win that game, and pretty convincingly win that game.
Yeah, it was quite obvious, to be honest, that how they won. I think it was 2 brilliant things. It did help with Tottenham just not turning up at all. But it just seems like one of those seasons where we have a performance like we did against Everton, which was a bit more flat, and against Fulham, and then we turn up like this. So it's all over the place at the moment. I just want to get your take on it, JT. I think that obviously there was the incident, and it seems like compared to last year, where we lost 3-0 at that ground, they've definitely seen to a different performance. What do you think we're putting that down to?
Just got 2 words: Wilfred Ndidi. He was my man of the match by far today. He was phenomenal. He was everywhere, breaking up play, just pretty much setting up our whole press just to be able to dominate pretty much comprehensively for the whole 90 minutes. But that was the difference for me today between this game and Everton. I thought he should have started in the midfield versus Everton, but put him at center back, and he's just way too valuable to be played in our back line. He needs to be in the midfield every single game, or as much as he can play anyway.
Yeah, he's one of our most valuable members. I think we've lost that recently. I just want to hand over to you, Ant, because I think he had such a brilliant performance today. I think I'll find the statistics once I hand over to you, but I know you're adorning a special flag as well, just in commemoration for the 2-0 win.
You remember this, Tottenham. This is when you finished third. But in all seriousness, no, what a brilliant performance! And it was one of those going into it. You think you don't want to say make or break, but we could have easily sort of started another sort of loss of games. Obviously, lost to Everton. We got United coming up, so we really needed to respond today, and we've done that absolutely brilliantly. I know Tottenham weren't at their best, but I think a lot of that came down to us not allowing them to be at their best.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right there. I think one of the things that I've got from Statman Dave, I've got Wilfred Ndidi's names in numbers today. So 94% pass accuracy, 19 ball recoveries, 5 clearances, 3 tackles won, 2 interception. No Premier League has made more recoveries in the Premier League this season. So from that, bearing in mind that's the first time that he played on Wednesday, but he plays the centre back because Johnny Evans was out as well, and he's come into this game and absolutely bossed that midfield, which is a hard role to do. And I think we look at him and we look at Castagna as well, and these players are coming back into the team. Amar, is this the team that we can expect with pretty much a full squad? Bearing in mind we've still got Sionchu and we've still got Ricardo to come back as well.
The thing for me is, Neil, is that even with Everton, it was flat and we weren't penetrating enough. We still had moments in there. The fact is, to make sure that you're having those moments and still remaining within the game relies on personnel. Now, I don't really want to pick out those players that are stepping in. It's not, their fault that they're still at the club. But Christian Fuchs, I think, as great as a servant he's not that quality to really push in that scenario. I think if you start him today, it's not going to be the same result. Papi Mendy, as brilliant as he was, from the start of the season, covering for Ndidi and, going away to Man City and Arsenal and pulling off some brilliant performances and protecting that defensive line really well. He's not going to offer you. It's unfair on Mendy more so because it's Ndidi is just the complete central defensive midfielder. So how could he compete with that? It's not nowhere near the same. Ndidi's just integral to the side. He's makes how we play and just protects that back line. And defensively, we just look stronger. We're more confident. And, that's still with Ziencha and Ricardo, and going forwards, they'll probably be back in the team. I still think Justin is probably going to keep Ricardo out. I mean, the way Justin's playing, I think he's sensational. He can play as a right back. He's also it feels like you've got 2 players with him. And, but the competition, either way, and the amount of games that we're going to have, and it's vital that you're going to get that rotation. So if Ziencha comes back in, Fofana can have a rest. And going forward throughout the season, it just allows us to have that strength and depth that we can call on when we need to give key players rest, when we're seeing through games and we can take players off early. But the one position, and it's always going to come back to this, that we need depth in, is Jamie Vardy, unfortunately. I know every other sort of pundit keeps saying about where Jamie Vardy just takes them through Leicester through, and I don't want to deny that, but they're right. Since I think if we can solve that key position and just get a decent backup, then hopefully in January, I feel if we can, and if it's right, then we have the potential there to really secure top 4 this season, like we didn't do last season, and start building from there, and then we can really have the players to start competing in Champions Leagues, securing top 4 places, and then from there, who knows? So, yeah.
Hopefully that's the case, but I think for now we got to build slowly. We finished 5th last year. I
Yeah,
think
of course.
it would still be an 8th position. I think still would be a good season if we can build on that. Just want to hand over to you, Austin, with Timothy Castagna. It was his first game back. He did look not as pacey as usual, but I still think in this game he really showed what he's made of, and his work rate and his engine was really impressed. What do you think of him today?
I mean, you got 60 minutes that you absolutely wanted out of him, and the most important thing is he didn't get injured again, just like our last couple players. So you're definitely happy with that. I mean, he did what you're asked. He wasn't as prolific as he was going forward when he was fully healthy, but it's his first game back. He didn't have any U23 games to come back. I mean, you're really happy with what you got out of him. They definitely. I mean, I don't mean to really slag Christian Fuchs, but definitely Castagna, I think, definitely helped us today, and it was definitely better for him to play instead of Christian Fuchs.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think it was a tough move, I think, throwing him straight at the deep end, because Tottenham are a very hard side and he's not known for his defensive capabilities. But coming into this game, it could have been another situation like you were saying with Sionchu, where you put him in, 12 minutes later he's off, and every single person is slating the manager going, what on earth are you doing? But it's one of those fine lines in football where it actually paid off today. And then we got that final minute goal where Aurier brilliantly, as we would like to say, smashes into the back of Fofana for Vardy to stick it away as well. And I think it could have been easy for Leicester to take the foot off the pedal, but they settled with a back plan. And I think that was down to Rodgers. As last time, we lost 3-0 to them. And now we've gone at their same ground and won 2-0. Is that down to Brendan Rodgers' tactic, do you think, JT?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps. But the last time I went to the ground was after the restart, I believe, last summer, and we were playing with Luke Thomas in his second start, just in a terrible run of form after 3 months off. It was just a bad scenario to have to go and play against a healthy Harry Kane. Always hard to play against Son. But just today, yeah, I think a lot of it has just come down mostly to the players, in my opinion. But tactics were definitely straight on what we needed. Even after the half, when we had the 1-0 lead, we knew that Tottenham all season, that's why they're at the top of the table. They just park their Jose bus back there with their 4-4-2 or whatever formation. He can play the deepest block that he can, and then counterattack with Son and Kane. Once you're up 1-0 going in the second half, they have to come out. And you saw it with the goal that was disallowed by James Maddison's armpit hair that was offside. We just played a ball over the top. Justin played a beautiful pass, perfectly weighted. Matters takes it down, finishes it across the keeper. Had the goal counted, as it should have. That would have been the epitome of being able to manage a game and being able to understand the tactics and just having it spot on.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think Brendan Rodgers does deserve a lot of praise for that as well. I think one thing that we've criticised Leicester as well a lot before is our corners. So obviously from attacking them and defending them. And one of the things we've said again and again, Anne, is that James Maddison needs to beat the first man. And in this, he actually has done. He's beaten the first man. And to be fair, we look quite threatening from corners, especially with the delivery. Yes, the headers didn't go in, but I thought we're much improved from corners.
Well, it's baby steps, isn't it? At least we've beaten the first man or actually putting a ball into the box, because the amount of times we've been countered from our own corner or it ending up back at Schmeichel's feet. So at least there's some sort of danger with it. And I think having Sionchu coming back will be huge because he's a presence in the box. Having Ndidi back's big because he's obviously another physical aerial presence. And then potentially in January, like if we do go into the market again for another centre back, I'm hoping that's James Tarkowski, by the way, out of contract at Burnley.
Agreed. Yeah.
I think that then in terms of not just attacking set pieces, but defending, which has been a real problem for us this year, then hopefully we'll be able to sort of look forward and that shouldn't be as much of a problem. The zonal marking, that needs to change though, because that is causing us more problems than it's worth.
Yeah, I think so. Just Amar, just a quick question on that. Like, I think we are getting better at defending corners over the last couple of games, which is, well, it's not coming from much because there wasn't really much defending for a lot of the time in the matches beforehand. But in this, it does look like we're starting to get a hang of defending corners, and it does look like we're starting to make improvements, aren't we?
Better players are back. That's the thing. Again, even it's not just me that's mentioning it, and I hate to dig out players, but that's the way it's going to change their physical characters. Their Castagna, Ricardo, Cianchu. You've got to want to head the ball. Okay, is it zonal marking or man-to-man? I'll come to the point about Hansen zonal marking. I agree because I think Jim Redknapp said something, but at the end you've got to head the ball, and there's players there that want to head the ball. I mean, if you've got like 5'5" Papi Mendy, even if he does, like, you know, like if he can't head the ball, at least stand your ground. And defensively, we're not solid or astute without those players in the side. So, and of course, going forward, yeah, you know, with tactics and zonal marking, I think I listened to what Jamie Redknapp said on Sky Sports. I mean, I don't pay attention loads to Sky Sports. I think there's, you know, but I think Jamie Redknapp mentioned a point there about zonal marking. It reduces authority. So if a goal goes in, it would be like, oh, there's this zone, and it wasn't like, you know, like it wasn't covered. Like that just happens. Whereas with man-to-man, you could look at and say, if there's man-to-man, if there's somebody marking like a big striker and stuff, you can point, and the goal is scored, you can point to them and say, why aren't you doing your job? With zonal marking, it takes that out of it. So you can't really blame, you don't really know who to blame with zonal marking in a way. There is another point tactically as well as to why not have the bigger defenders going up against the likes of your Ollie McBurney's, your Yerry Minas, your like just the big like centre backs or centre forwards or target men that are just going to win the headers. Just stick our larger centre backs on them and limit their opportunities, and let's say like the midfielders, your Yuri Tillemans, your Harvey Barnes on there, just in that zone, just like there to clear the follow up and leave them out the physical side. But something does have to change, definitely. And I'm sure Brendan's going to be looking into that. And I'm sure with better personnel on the pitch, it would be a lot easier, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. And I think it is changing slowly, and we are going to get that. But it's good that we've recognised an issue and then we are currently sorting it. I just want to get into the second half as well. And Maddison scores a great goal. And it's, as we're going to say, we've said so many times here so far, it's armpits offside, which is absolutely stupid. But what were your thoughts on that, Austin? Because I was properly raging when that went in, because it was absolutely stupid in my opinion, because his body was onside, and you're not going to reach with your arm. You're not going to score a goal with your arm.
I mean, the line was drawn to his elbow, and I keep saying that every time. I mean, it's drawn to his elbow. Like, it's absolutely idiotic. I mean, obviously it goes against us, so we're a little bit biased, but I just think get rid of the lines, go to naked eye. The MLS does it where it's just there's no lines. You just look at it. If it's clear offside, then it's offside. If it's not that clear, just keep it a decision. And I just think that's the way for the Premier League to go. But I mean, we're not the only club. There's a bunch of decisions that VR is just getting wrong. But I keep saying that it's not VAR. It's the problem. It's the people running it, and I think that's going to keep with it. Obviously, offside. I mean, it's lines, and that's human. That's human there. So can't really blame VAR on that. It's just the people using it. But that was an absolute fantastic goal that didn't count, and that was going to be one of our better goals of the season. Just that ball alone from James Justin.
Yeah, I mean, I've got him down for one of my potential mans of the match today, because I think he was absolutely brilliant. But that performance today was quite something, bearing in mind, I think we say it game in, game out, don't we, Anther? He's played every single game in Europa League and Premier League this season, and he's not, and even in the FA Cup as well, when he's not rested at all. One player I want to touch on as well is that Daniel Amarte, obviously he's been out since the Man City game with an injury, and he came back in and looks so assured in that position, JT. I think he just looked fantastic today. And it's a player that at the beginning of the season, you could have kind of expected him in the summer to go. And he's come in, he's proved himself, he's got over his injuries, and he's not really made a fuss. But I think he's looking fantastic so far.
Yeah, so when he first came back to the team, I think it was against Man City, was the first game back, and he was playing as a center back, and he just locked up one of the best front lines in all of Europe. And then I think he got hurt, and he's been out for a little bit. And then now he came back. I didn't even realize who it was at first. I didn't even know he was on the bench today. That was it was probably 5 minutes after he came on. I was like, who is that? And I realized who it was. I was like, oh, okay. And then when I started paying attention throughout the game, he just looked assured, comfortable, wasn't really stressing too much. No crazy lunging tackles that were going to get him into trouble, get our back line into trouble. It just cleaned up the game and saw out the clean sheet.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we needed as well. Obviously, Castagna came off at 60 minutes. He had 30 minutes under his belt as well. And another player I want to mention as well was Mark Albrighton, because we do give him a bit of stick from time to time. But I think today, and he just worked his absolute socks off, and he was absolutely knackered by the end of the match. But he's the kind of player that will give you a 7 out of 10, as we've said again and again. But I think in this match, his work rate really paid off to try and keep players like Son, players like Mora in the second half quiet. Because bearing in mind, even though Tottenham have had a bad day, when you've got Kane, Son, Bale, Mora running at you, it's not easy. And I think Albrighton did his part in trying to defend as well.
Yeah, and he's always going to do that. And you say that he ran his socks off. We know whoever we play, we could be playing like Burton in the cup, and he'll still give 125% to absolutely everything. But defensively today, the output we got in terms of him coming back, helping out, breaking up play was absolutely brilliant. But there was a couple of times where he was just putting the ball into the box sort of aimlessly without anyone there. And maybe if Tottenham were more on their game, they could have sort of countered and stuff. But overall, I thought it was, as you say, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. So I thought he had a very decent performance.
Yeah, and I think everybody did overall. Just over to you, Amar. Quick question: who would you consider your runner-up man of the match, and who would be your main man of the match for this game?
There's a lot to choose from. As a team, just pulled off everything that I think the manager wanted to do. Well, I'll start. I know one player clear. I know the winner already, and that's Wilfred Ndidi. That's need to say more about that one. Runner up, I think Maddison deserved that goal. I think even Brendan Rodgers said that in the his post-match interview as well about Maddison, tactically outstanding. He was causing mayhem. He was marking out wides to full-backs as well to stop them getting forwards. He was out on, so I think he must have taken up the right flank. So also helping Albrighton, not allowing Reguilon to just bomb down that left flank. And when he got the ball, picked it up centrally, he was just running with the ball, drawing fouls, set piece delivery, superb. Justin's ball to him was fantastic for the goal, and then he took it down brilliantly. The first touch was brilliant. The finish was sensational. I'm gutted for him that he didn't get that goal. I really am. And yeah, it's just a shame to see. And that's what damaged the performance today. But I think the runner-up for me, Maddison, I think. And then Ndidi to win. It's just clear for me.
Yeah, the reason why I've gone for a runner-up, because I think it was quite obvious, but there's also so many players to choose from as well, because there was so many brilliant performances today. Over to you, Austin. Who was your man of the match, and who else do you think deserves a special shout out?
I think Ndidi was our man of the match. I don't think anyone's going to go against that. He solidified himself as one of the best DMs in the league that game. I mean, that just shows what he can do, and I don't think there's anyone, unless Conte gets moved back to DM, I think he's the only guy that can compare with him. And backup, I mean, I think you could have your pick of anyone in the back line. I mean, Evans and Fofana were brilliant today. Justin was brilliant today. Castagna, we talked about him. I mean, can't really go wrong with any of them.
Yeah, that's a good one. There was a lot of the back line as well. JT, similar question to you as well. Man of the match and your runner-up as well.
Yeah, so man of the match is Ndidi. And back to what Austin said, he is the best defensive man in the league. It's bar none at this point. He is the top of the totem pole on that. And I guess for my runner-up I think I would pick Justin. He was great today on the right. Switch him over to the left, still making lung-busting runs down the flank in the 90th minute, dribbling past people. I think this past year, I mean, when he first came up from Luton Town, he looked a bit out of place. But I think this past year, learning from the likes of Ricardo and even just the defensive learning from probably like Wes Morgan, I'm sure has an influence, Christian Fuchs, players like that are more experienced in defense. Like he's solid all the time and he's making runs like Ricardo. Maybe not as dynamic, but he's getting there pretty close. He's got to be making a push for Southgate's attention here soon, even with England's plethora of fullbacks that they got.
They definitely have a lot of fullbacks at the moment, but I think you're right. I think he's definitely should be in the picture. Whether he is or not, there's always the England curse. I think, as we know, that the top 6 teams tend to dominate that, and Declan Rice for some reason. Over to you, and just who was your? Obviously, we got man of the match, but who would your runner-up be as well?
So I think man of the match, and I think you've all touched on it, got to be Ndidi. He was absolutely brilliant today, controlled that midfield. No one got near him, and he just broke up absolutely everything. So to control a midfield that's got what Lascelles, so very good player, Ndombele, what Tottenham's record signing, to just control the midfield and stop any sort of Tottenham momentum, absolutely brilliant from him. And he's going to show sort of throughout the next few games, we're going to really realise what we've been missing at the start of the season by having a Liverpool winner. But then I think the other player, and I don't know how he obviously scored a goal, huge part in the second goal, with it coming off of Alderweireld, was it?
Yeah.
Yep.
The second goal, yeah. So for me, my runner-up of man of match, if that's what we're calling it, I'm going to go for Vardy.
Yeah, Vardy was definitely a good one, and obviously I think he should be fit for the next game, but I've not actually read the post-injury report. But one of the things as well I want to mention, obviously, that Justin was mine, but I want to give a special shout out to Schmeichel as well, because that 70th minute save from about 70th minute from Son was absolutely incredible. And the fact is, he's still 34, he's still doing it, and he gets one. He made a uncharacteristic mistake against Everton for the first goal, and that let them in, which was a downside. But the majority of the time, he's had an amazing save to make in the first 20 or 30 minutes of the games, and he's just took them. And something that we can't really put into practice how brilliant that is for the squad as well. And again, the 70th minute where he's a one-on-one pretty much with Son, where the defense has kind of fallen apart, and he makes that great saves and pushes it over. And I just thought this is brilliant for him. And again, we could have chose everybody, because pretty much people like Yuri Tillemans was passing the ball brilliantly as well. I think he had a lot to play in it as well. So we've pretty much touched on everybody, because it was a proper team performance. And it just means that when this team is firing and when we can get consistency, this team is going to be really something to reckon with. But I'd like to thank everybody for coming on. So thank you so much. Amar, where can we, with my point the wrong way. Amar, where can we find you?
Well, yeah, just on Twitter. I can send you links and stuff there. That's no problem. So, not on the YouTube game, but yeah, happy to come on. Love to come on. Yeah, thanks for having me on, Neil. And always on Twitter, like bantering other clubs about. So, yeah, give us a follow if you want. But yeah, just looking forward to the rest of the season. And who knows? Like, yeah, could be like it's going to be some roller coaster ride. So, could like beat United and then lose to Palace, or is the inconsistency, but here for the ride. So
cool. Cheers. Austin, over to you. What is your where can the people find you?
Mainly on Twitter. That's about my big thing. Talk about anything from us to cricket, anything. But yeah, and then I'm also on the First for LCFC podcast that I'm on a good bit. Haven't been on a while, but hopefully soon.
Cool, nice one. And JT as well, same to you.
Yeah, just on Twitter. Don't really have any other social media. Just the American Fox on Twitter. Yeah, so hopefully this was a nice early Christmas present. Hopefully you can get a nice Boxing Day gift in a few days.
Let's hope so, especially after Man United. It would be nice to get one over them after the amount of times they've managed to find one over us. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. Obviously, Ant's description will be in the description below. We all know him by now. And we'll see everybody in the next video. So thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and we'll see you all in the next video. So goodbye.